Good morning. Let's stand together as we sing our call to worship. How great is our God. The splendor of a king. The splendor of a king, clothed in majesty, let all the earth rejoice, let all the earth rejoice. He wraps himself in light, and darkness tries to hide, and trembles at his voice, and trembles at his voice. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will see how great is our God. Oh, and age to age he stands. Oh, time is in his hands, beginning and the end, beginning and the end. The Godhead three in one, Father, Spirit, Son, the Lion and the Lamb, the Lion and the Lamb. Oh, how great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will see how great is our God. Then sings my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. Then sing my soul, my Savior God, to thee. How great thou art, how great thou art. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will see how great is our God. Sing that again. How great is our God. Sing with me, how great is our God. And all will see how great is our God. Our God. God is so good. Come on, sing. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. He answers prayer. He answers prayers. He answers prayers. He's so good to to me. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. God is so good. He's so good to me. And all God's people said, amen. You may be seated. Today we honor our graduates, and it's a big day for our graduates. But you know what? I wanted to sing this song, not necessarily for our graduates, but for their mamas and daddies. It's an exciting day, but also kind of a hard day. Just seems like yesterday we watched our children take their first steps and smash into that first birthday cake. And we remember every achievement along the way, every mark on the closet door where we measured the height as our children have grown. And so I wanted to sing this song this morning about the love of a parent and a child that's walking on to new opportunity. One day you'll go chasing after your rainbow. One day you walk alone. Run fast, walk slow. Go wherever the wind blows. Remember, you're never alone. And where you go, my heart will follow. And can you feel my hand in yours? One day you'll know both the joy and the sorrow when your own child has grown. And where you go, my heart will follow. And can you feel my hand in yours? Living is changing, constantly rearranging, finding what life can bring. But part of you stays here with me.
Amen. Man, every parent in here wants to cry right now, or thanks, Jeff. Thanks a lot. Man, that was a good song. I was saying in the first service this morning, I was bragging on Hayes. Yesterday was his birthday. He turned 13. And I was talking just in general to our seniors, and I said, man, 13 years went by like that. And now the parents in here that are celebrating the graduation of their senior, they can say, hey, it went by like that. So life's fast, isn't it? Life's quick. How many of you try daily to enjoy every little moment? Oh, we forget, don't we? I try. I really do. I wake up and I go, God, I want to enjoy this day. And then all of a sudden, man, it's night, and I don't really remember. I just survived the day, you know. I just made it through another day. But I'm proud of these graduates. Now, this is different. Like at Amazon, I was there 16 years, so I grew up with the kids that were coming up and graduating. I knew them really, really well. And this is the first group, you know, I never didn't make a deep connection with, but man, just watching them and watching them at the church and just hearing little stories about them, meeting their parents. We're blessed to have some wonderful youth in our church, and these have graduated. And here's what I'm most proud of. This is what I'm most proud of. When somebody starts something and they finish it. That is big to me, whatever it is. If you start something and finish it, because it's not easy. Not anything that we do in life that we start is a guaranteed cakewalk to the end. And school is not that. School's tough. From the moment you put that little one in kindergarten and you have to leave them with other kids and teachers, and you turn around and you leave them screaming at you, or you know, that look of fear like, don't leave me. I mean, it's just tough, and it's tough on them, you know, learning people and learning through life. And I mean this, like there's a lot of weight when I say this. I am super proud of those who graduated because they finished what they started. And let me just say this, when we finish something and we start, we don't do it alone. We have people that help us. We have people that wake us up, and they see through it. How many of you ever said, I don't feel good, I don't want to go to school? And your mom or dad comes in, looks at you, and go, no, you're getting up and you're going to school. So we have all those people that kind of do their part in helping us to get to those finish lines that we start, and to get to the end of that finish line. So these have done that, man. I'm just super proud of them. Thank you all for coming and supporting them and giving gifts and words of encouragement. I'm just going to read some Proverbs and give some wisdom out of the Proverbs, and then Brother Michael's going to come and kind of do a gift each of the kids and say a little word. So Solomon in the Old Testament, we know him as one of the wisest men that ever lived. And Ecclesiastes, I'm going to be in Ecclesiastes is probably some of his best writings, if you will. Now, I know he gave us Proverbs and Song of Solomon and all these things, but there's something special when he's writing, Solomon's writing Ecclesiastes, he's reflecting deeply. Now, you can read it and you can say he's writing this from a depressed state. I don't think so. I think he's just in deep thought when he's writing Ecclesiastes. So if you've got your Bibles, I want you to turn to Ecclesiastes chapter 12. Ecclesiastes chapter 12, and there's some key verses in here that challenge, especially those who are graduating, but it also is a good challenge for you and I as well. So if you've got your Bibles, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1. And here's the point to verse 1 that we draw from this. Make sure you know God while you're young. Make sure you know God while you're young. I would say make sure you cultivate a good understanding of who God is while you're young. Some of us in here can say, man, I love my dad. I got a good fatherly figure. But there's a lot of people in the world that can't say they have a good fatherly figure. And if you're not careful, the dad in the home will, if you're not careful, the children will think God is just like dad. And so it's really important that each child take on the responsibility or to know who God is while they are young. Now, that's important about the pastor, your youth pastor, and your Sunday school teachers, because they're pouring into your children. And I want them to know I want them to know how God is in a healthy way. I want them to know Him. So, but it's really up to you. The ones that we're talking about, the ones that are highlighted today, these graduates, this is my challenge really for you, is to make sure you know God, not know of Him, but know Him while you are young. Now, Ecclesiastes chapter 12, verse 1, it says this, it says, remember now your Creator in the days of your what? Youth. Ah, yeah, there's youth. There's youth, and you're living in that youth. And so Solomon, the wisest man to ever live, says this, remember now your Creator in the days of your youth. So my point is, make sure you know God while you're young. Now, not to say you know Him and then you forget about Him, but you begin to cultivate His characteristics. You begin to understand how He sees you. Like when you visualize Him looking at you, how do you think He looks at you? If you're not careful, Satan comes in and he says, well, he's not proud of you. He doesn't love you. He's ashamed of you. He doesn't like what you've done. He remembers everything that you've done. And you begin to have this terrible view of how God views you. And so Solomon is saying, you better make sure you know who God is while you're young, because if you misscrewed his view of you while you're young, you'll carry that all the way through life. And you say, well, my mom and daddy didn't teach me. The pastor didn't teach me. Nobody's taught me. Listen to me, those who we're highlighting today. That's your responsibility. It really is. It's your blessing to get to know God, to get to know how He loves you and how He thinks of you and how He created you, and to find out your passions that He is giving you and your purpose that He is giving you, and how He wants to use those to bless you and to bless others. So you've got to know who He is, not know about Him, but you've got to know who He is, His characteristics. The Bible says this, when He looks at us, His thoughts of us are many, and His thoughts of us are so good that He says that each piece of individual sand on the sea, God has a special thought for us. Isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? Because sometimes I think, God, man, there's no way you find good in me. I'm a mess. But when I read and allow Him to pour into my heart, and I begin to research Him, and I begin to ask questions about Him, and I find the answers, I begin to know who God is. And when I find out who God is, man, I see how He views me. And so you got to know Him while you're young. And then I would say this. I'd say this. Make sure you still know Him when you're old. Let's look in verse 6 and 7. And this is Solomon. This is some of Solomon's best writings. He's telling me and you, while you are young, while you are in your youth, you got to get to know Him. Know who God is, because if you have a terrible mindset of who God is, you carry that all through life. It'll affect, how you think of Him will affect how you view your wife, your relationship with your wife, your relationship with your children, your relationship with your church, your relationship with your community, relationship with everybody is affected how you think God views you. And so he says, make sure you know Him. You get to know Him. And then he says this in verse 6 and 7. He says, remember your Creator before the what? Silver cords is loose. He's talking about our hair. Y'all can't see them, I don't think, from there, but it's true. I have gray hairs that are growing. It's happening, and there's things happening that I never thought would happen. And I'll take one for the team. My wife says this every Sunday. Did you make sure that you clip the hair in your ears? I'm like, no, don't ever say that again. I'm not to that point. But it's the truth. We get older. And so Solomon says you better know him and get to know him while you're young. And then he says, remember your Creator even when you're older. So when you get out on your own and you experience the freedom of making your own decisions, you will be presented with many different life philosophies that run contrary to the Bible. You really are. You live in a fishbowl. Most of us live in a fishbowl. I grew up in a fishbowl. I thought everybody loved the Lord. Everybody went to church. Everybody lived on a farm with their grandparents. I thought everybody lived like I lived. And then guess what? The older you get, the more responsibility. The more responsibility you get, the faster life goes. And the more responsibility you get, the further away you find yourself getting away from home. You get to make your own decisions. And then all of a sudden I realized that not everybody loves him. Not everybody wants to live for him. There's other thinkings. There are other methods out there that are contrary to what Scriptures hold. So remember, Jesus said this. Jesus said to enter in by the narrow gate, for wide is the way that leads to destruction, and there are many who go in by it. There's a free will that each and every one of us have. You get to do what you want to do. You can. If you want to sin, you can sin. If you want to go to college and the means are there, you can go to college. You get to make your own decisions. You get to make the decision, am I going to continue to follow him and get to know the Lord and seek after his blessings? Or am I going to listen to someone that says, look, guys, there's another way. What you've been taught is fairy tales. You get to make a conscious decision, am I going to continue on my walk with the Lord, or am I going to take this different path? And the different path is wide. Living and walking with the Lord and living in his blessings is a narrow pathway. But in that narrow pathway is the greatest blessings that you and I can ever have, ever could receive walking with the Lord. So make sure you know him while you're young, and then as you get out, make decisions on your own. Make sure you still know him when you're old. All right? Number 3 is this. This comes from verses 10 and 11. 10 and 11. Now, the point that we get from this is the most beneficial scholarship that you're going to receive is from the Lord. Now, some of you may have gotten some really good scholarships. I was not fortunate to be one of those who ever got a scholarship. I wanted to play sports and go home. I didn't want to read. I didn't want to do all those things. I didn't. And so, therefore, if you work hard, if you work hard and do the work, at the end of it all, there's some great rewards that you can receive that will help mom and daddy and yourself out. And some of you did that. Some of you have got scholarships, but the greatest one, listen, the one you can get excited about is the one that comes from the Lord. Look at this in verse 12. This comes from 10 and 11. The preacher sought to find acceptable words, and what was written was upright words of truth. The words of the wise are like goads, and the words of scholars are like well-driven nails, given by one shepherd. And further, my son, be admonished by these. Of making many books there is no end, and much study is wearisome to the flesh. And then in verse 13, let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. And then listen to this. Fear God and keep his commandments, for this is man's all. So the most beneficial scholarship is from the Lord. If you plan on furthering your education, then beware of the assault of the Christian faith. It's out there. We're seeing a lot of it right now, and we really see some blatant things that are happening to the Christian faith. It's an imbalance. It's an imbalance that we see in the Christian faith versus any other faith that we see. They say, no, you can't. They say, yes, y'all can. That's just what we're seeing. And so you got to be careful of the assault and be consciously aware of what's happening in your surroundings. An article that I read out of Florida College, a professor had the students, and I don't get it. I don't know. And sometimes I read things and I go, this can't be true. But I'm realizing, Jason, there's things out there that's happening. I mean, these things are happening. A professor had his college students to take a piece of paper. And the college students got a piece of paper, and he said, I want you to write Jesus on the piece of paper. And then all the students wrote Jesus on the piece of paper. And then he said, I want you to lay the piece of paper in the floor. And the students laid the piece of paper in the floor. And they said, what I want you to do, I want you to jump up and down on that piece of paper. I want you to destroy that piece of paper. Well, everybody in the class jumps up and begins to destroy and kick and denounce what they've been taught about the world system by destroying that piece of paper that had the name of Jesus written on it. All but one, Ryan Rotella, a junior, refused. He politely disagreed with the professor and was suspended as a punishment for not doing what his professor had asked the class to do. I don't get it. I'm thinking there's no way, but there is. So what I'm telling you, everybody in here is going to have an opportunity to make a stand for what they believe. And it's never fun. You're always segregated, usually, when you are making a stand for your faith. But I'm telling you, the Bible teaches me that there are great rewards for those who just stand for what they believe in. Because Satan's out there to destroy everything you've been taught. Everything your grandmother and grandfather sat down and given you godly wisdom, your mom, your dad, what God has spoken to your heart through preaching and through a Sunday school lesson. There's an entity out there that wants to wipe and erase that away. And so you've got to consciously say, I want to continue to know Him. Even at the end of my life, I want to still be serving Him. Because in between your youth and in between the end of it all is a gauntlet. It's a gauntlet. The flesh, the world, and the devil are going to try to hinder you and hurt you from living out your purpose, your passions, and what God has called your will. He's going to try to snuff those things out. And so you've got to say, I want to live for you. Whatever that means, Father, you put people in my life. When I go to college, Father, give me people in my life that are going to help me. They're going to help me get through life and help me love you and help me know you, and they're going to keep me accountable to serving you and to going to school and to doing my work. So the most beneficial scholarship is from the Lord. Seek Him. Ask Him for His great wisdom and His great help. And here's a great word. Here's what I would say. Here's what I would say if right now y'all marched out, y'all left, our last words to y'all, we saw y'all again after college. Here's what I would say. Keep the faith. That says a lot. In those few words, that says a lot. So keep the faith. All right, last one, number 4. This comes again from 12 and 13. The most meaningful pursuit in life. Are you ready? The most meaningful pursuit in life. You got me. The most meaningful pursuit in life is the Lord. I know that it is. It is amazing. The most meaningful pursuit in life is the Lord. Listen to what Solomon is saying. And further, my son, be admonished that these of making many books, he said, there's no end to much studying and wearisome of the flesh. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep His commandments, for this is man's all. So the most meaningful thing that you have in life is to continue to walk and to get to know the Lord. Now, but this is important. I would say this. The most important thing is to know that I really believe this. I was told this at a young age repeatedly. In fact, the guy that would tell me this, I got sick of hearing it. He would say it and I'd get mad at him almost. When he'd walk away, I'd just mumble something under my breath, like you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know nothing. You don't know anything. But he would say this often to me. And this is the truth. You ready? Here's the word. He would say, Jason, life is 10% skill. 10% skill. You ready? And he said 90% attitude. 10% skill, 90% attitude. That's That's the key to life. And he'd say it often to me. I mean, once a day it seemed like he'd walk by me and say, Jason, life is 10% skill, 90% attitude. And let me tell you something, he's right. Your attitude at the workplace, your attitude at home, your attitude behind the pulpit, your attitude wherever God sends you, 90% of your attitude, listen, is going to affect the outcome of your career, your attitude. You need some skills, and God gives you skills. He gives you a passion. There's something in you that burns you want to do. And sometimes you're afraid to go do it, so you pick something to go do that really you don't like, but it's a paycheck, and it helps pay the car, helps pay the kids, helps pay that. But really there's a deep down yearning to go do something, but you're afraid to do it. But you weren't afraid to do this. It's amazing how Satan works. So I would say to those that are trying to figure out what God you want me to do, what drives me, where's your passion? What's the burning in your gut thing you want to do? And then you've got to say, is there fear behind that? And the Bible tells me, Jason, God is not the author of what? Fear. Who is? Satan is. It's amazing how out of the chute, Satan does not want you to know why you were created. So, whatever it is you're trying to figure out, whatever that gut instinct you have, that Holy Spirit instinct that you have a drive to do. Yes, it might be difficult. Yes, it might be years of college. Yes, it might be expensive. I don't know. But I'm telling you, if there is a drive in you to do it, and there's fear that comes along with that, listen, I'd say really hone in on that one. Really look at that. Because listen, how many shots of life do we have? How many lives y'all have? All I know is I got one. All I got one. And so I would, before I dove off anything, I'd seek some wisdom. And who's God put around you? You got grandparents? You got uncles you love, you trust? You got youth pastors you love, you trust? Who has God put you that you can just sit down and say, listen, and pray for me? I would do that. I really would. I would do that. But listen, when you find your career, the most meaningful thing you can do in life is pursue the Lord. Because in pursuing Him, you pursue your blessings. And career is important. Now, I've written this right here. And this is to me, too. I failed at this. And some of us in here can raise your hand and say, Brother Jason, man, I've done that. Here, and maybe I've written this to me, and you can just catch on to it. I said this, but your job should never become your sole reason for existence. And your career preparation should never distract you from growing in your relationship with Christ. Your career should not, your career should not hurt the most important people in your life. I've done that. I've neglected my wife and kids and pastoring and going to school and I just thought, man, I've got to give everything to it, and the crumbs that I have left over, I'll give to Jesse and I'll give to the kids. No. When you get married, your wife and your husband, they're number one. Your kids, man, just enjoy the time that you have. Your family. Hey, don't tell me how many times I miss out on things because I thought I needed to be somewhere else. And if you're not careful, you'll make your career everything. Everything. It'll affect your marriage. I can't go on a vacation. We got to go. I've got work. I got to work. They depend on me. You got to go. Got to work. Getaways with your husband and getaways with your wife is important. Just as important as you going to work. Taking your kids away from it all and making some memories is just as important as anything else. And so I would say to the young people, pursue your career and find it, enjoy it, whatever that is. But listen, the most meaningful thing in life is pursuing God, and don't let your career be your whole life. Let it be a means to living life. That's right. Here's a word. Now, if you're, any of y'all listening, if you write in your Bibles, if you got a journal, this is good. This is for me, and I'm sharing it with you. You ready? Life-changing quote right here. You ready? You ready, Hayes? He looks ready. Blessed be the balanced. Blessed be the balanced. Blessed be the person that can balance life, that notices what's important over here, what's important over here, and you're able to balance it. Relationship with the Heavenly Father, relationship with your wife, relationship with your community, relationship with your friends, relationship with your children. It's a balance. Give enough time to career, but give enough time to everybody else. Blessed be the balanced. And that's true. That's the key. Some of you say, have you figured it out? No, but I'm trying. So if you figured it out, you let me know. But blessed be the one that can balance all that life throws at him. Remember, jobs come and go. You ready? But your relationship with Christ lasts what? Till you die? Nope. For what? Forever. That's right. Find your career, but don't lose Him in the search of it, okay? Well, guys, I love you and I'm proud of you. Proud for you. Thankful that you started something and you finished something. And we can say this. Y'all kind of had a rough year, hadn't you? It's been different. The thing that gets me is they never got to go back one more time in a room together. Now, maybe that didn't bother some of them right then, but man, I can remember the last time I sat in a classroom with all of my classmates. I remember that one last time. They didn't have that closure. They definitely have gone through adversity this year. And I'm going to tell you this. I believe everybody in America has gone through some adversity. This has been a tough year. 2020 has been a tough year. Now, I'm a fuddy-duddy, and you can ask my wife, and usually at the end of the year, on New Year's Eve, I'm asleep. I'm asleep by 9. This year, if I make it, I'm partying. I'm going to party this year. We made it through 2020. And listen, what y'all have made it through is not easy. God's got something special for this generation of young people. For this generation of young people, He's doing something. He's doing something in their life, and I'm excited to see it. I want to be a part of cultivating just that. So, guys, I love you. Appreciate you. I'm glad that you started something and you finished it. That's a big accomplishment. I'm going to pray, and then Brother Michael, you come on up. Father, I love you, and God, I love your word. And God, thank you for Solomon stopping and writing such wonderful wisdom to us. Father, I pray for each of these that we've highlighted today. And God, I pray blessings over them. And God, I pray that they will just continue to get to know you. And Father, I pray all these things in your Son's name. Amen.
Okay. All right. Amen. Thank you, Brother Jason. It definitely has been a challenge for these young adults. I am so proud of them, but this year is kind of a bittersweet moment for me as well, with one of my own being a graduate. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, this is my 13th or 14th senior recognition. And I've been there for many of the other ones here. And looking out here and seeing some of the ones that was in part of some of the first groups, it's kind of bittersweet as well, because they've moved on and made good lives for themselves. I see Matt out there. Christopher Cox is back there. Jordan's back there. Chad's back there. Caitlin's back there. I've seen a bunch of these kids. Anthony, he's over there. He'd come back just for this, all the way from New York. So glad to see you, buddy. But there's so many. Danielle's there. But all these ones I mentioned, like Brother Jason said, had closure. There's some things that happened to these young adults that we're probably taking for granted that they didn't get to experience. I'm going to go through a list of things that they did not get to do that they normally would get to do. This group here didn't get to go to their senior prom. They didn't get to go a regular graduation where everybody stands up and applauds for them. That was definitely a different graduation ceremony that I was a part of this year that we was there. The many field trips they get to go on their senior year to make memories. Saying goodbye, as Brother Jason said, to their friends, that one last time in the classroom. Senior field day. How many of you remember your senior field day? The only time in school history you're allowed to throw shaving cream or a water balloon at somebody. They missed their beta banquet. And the one that hits me the most, they missed their athletic banquet. To us, it may not seem anything, but these kids they worked a long time playing sports and studying to get these recognition, and they didn't get to get it this time. Their VOTEC banquet, their robing ceremony, where their scholarships are announced, and they tell everybody what their plans are for the future. The senior walk through the halls. The young children don't get to see this group of seniors walk through the halls in their cap and gown. I know they just started doing this 4 or 5 years ago, but I think it's a major memory maker for a lot of people, and not just the seniors, but for the younger ones as well. Because whether we realize it or not, these seniors are role models to somebody. And I have taught them and preached this in my classes with them. No matter what situation you're going through, you are a role model to someone. Somebody's looking up to you, just like you're looking up to somebody else. They missed the last day of school. What's that old rock song? School's out forever. School's out forever. That's the only note I've ever hit. My wife is red. All right. Here's one we probably didn't think about. Cleaning out their lockers at school. You know? Here's one they probably are glad they missed. Is final exams. They're probably thankful for that. All the awards, the academic awards, award ceremony, they also miss their senior baseball season, their senior softball season, senior track season, and all the other memories that they're able to make. But there's also one here at church that we probably didn't get to think about. They missed their last Bible drills that they was able to participate in. I know Lizzie and Wesley, was this your 6th or 7th year? Somewhere in there, Clint, do you know? Somewhere in that area. They missed that. And to y'all that's never been able to be a part of the Bible drill, your last one's a big deal. It's a big deal. Chelsea, you remember yours? So I'm not saying all this for us to feel sorry for them. I'm saying all this to say I'm proud for them because they have made it through adversity. And they're going to be stronger for it. They're going to be better people for it. When life throws those flaming darts at them, use this time to realize that you can make it through anything. And remember, one of the verses that I've gone back to many times in our classes, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, plans for welfare, not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. And remember these couple of things, guys. Don't forget others before self. Always be humble. Keep God first, family second, church third, everything else will fall in place. Everything else will fall in place. I love you, and I want y'all, the 4 graduates that are here, I want y'all to come up. Dustin, do you want to come up, or you just want to stand up? He really don't want to be recognized, but we're going to have him stand up real quick. Dustin has graduated from Blue Mountain College. He gave you a little wave there. And can I say where you're going? Okay. He's got him a job teaching at Myrtle as the 7th and 8th grade science teacher. So we're very, very proud of Dustin. If our high school seniors would come up this way towards me. You can stand in front of your tables, that's fine. Real quick, I'm going to go around to each one, and I want them to tell you just a little bit of what their plans are, where they're going, what their plan is as of now. We know those plans might change or could change, most likely will change. But as you see, life will be full of those changes. All right, we'll start with Gabby.
Hi, everyone. I'm going to go to ICC and pursue a degree in radiology, and quite excited about that.
Okay. So I'm going to Northeast in Boonville, and my plan is to go into special education and be a teacher.
I'm going to Northeast and going into coaching and teaching math.
I'm going to Blue Mountain, and I'm going to be going into coaching and teaching history.
All right. Thank you, guys. And we pray that your dreams come true, that your plans come true, and we don't have anything else to halter those plans. But is there anybody that would like to say anything, any parents, grandparents, family members? And here's the thing I was thinking about when I was sitting over here. There's many, I know half the church is probably not here, but there's a lot of people that's taken their time out of their lives to invest in these young people's lives over the years. From teachers, if you have taught them here at the church in Sunday school or Bible school or some form of fashion, gone to camp with them, have done anything with these guys to be any kind of role model, please stand. Come on. I'll call you out if I have to. Matt Brown. Miss Dot sitting there like she didn't do anything. I mean, there's many, many more. Y'all can be seated. Chad, Jordan, y'all didn't stand up. Y'all taught them in Bible school or somehow or another. Cox. But I thank y'all so, so much for that. But does anybody have anything they want to say before I hand them their gifts? Anybody? Going to be an auction. Going once? What'd you say, Cruz? All right, I'm going to give, this is a gift card from the church, and on the behalf of the church, so this is what we give y'all every year. You can go tell Miss Dot she's misspelled your name. All right, and Dustin, I'll bring yours in a minute. All right, Brother Jeff, you want to dismiss? Oh, they are going to be up here by their tables if you want to come by and just say, hey, congratulations, and see some of the memories they've made.
All right. What a great Sunday. Amen. Amen. We'll pray, and then I'll dismiss you by section if you would like to stay. How many of you would still like to come by the tables up here? Okay, great. I'll dismiss you by section. If you want to come by the tables, you stay while the others leave. Let's pray before we leave. Lord, thank you so much for this day that we've had together to worship you and to celebrate these young people who we have taught and we've laughed with and we've loved, and we just pray your richest blessing on them, Lord, as they step out into life. They leave the nest and they begin to make decisions for themselves. They begin to take those steps into the real world. Lord, we pray that you would protect them, that you would remind them of whose they are and who they are. We look forward to the time when we can gather here together again. And Lord, we thank you for Jesus. It's in his name we pray. Amen.